Madam Chair, I move that we reconvene in open session and adopt certification of closed session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reconvene in open session and adopt certification for closed session. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Certification of closed session. Whereas the Dominica County School Board has convened a closed session on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas paragraph 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dominica County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only such business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board. J. Sneff, District 1, absent. Betty Haney, District 2.
I certify.
Barbara Pittman, District 3.
I certify.
Mary Benjamin, District 4.
I certify.
Shirley Merritt, District 5.
I certify.
Madam Chair, all certify, 4 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Before we go any further, the Pledge of Allegiance was omitted on here, but I would like to have the children come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, y'all get the flags up here. Okay, are y'all ready? Okay, you want to lead us? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, are there any amendments or to the agenda?
Madam Chair, we need to amend the agenda. We need to remove agenda item 4.03, collective bargaining, until a later date.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the agenda as amended by deleting item 403 and adding it at a later date.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended by deleting section 40.03. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right. The closed session report?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel report as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All any opposed? Okay. Now we're at the presentation, our special presentation for this evening.
Yes, so we have some really special guests here. We have the
Yes.
class of 2033 in the house this evening. So I don't know who I'm supposed to turn this over to.
Miss
Is
Bulis?
it Miss Bulis, since you were the one that... Miss McMahon, okay, Miss McMahon, Miss Bulis. You're special too, but 2033 is a pretty special class.
Thank you, first off, for having us all here today to present this very special project to you all. About a month back, Ms. Bulis, exceptional ed teacher and first grade parent at Midway Elementary School, presented the idea of a first grade time capsule to the elementary leaders in the county. This project came together through the countywide collaboration of students, first grade teachers, building leaders, county leaders, and parents. I'm just truly proud of how well everyone came together to see this idea to fruition in such a very short period of time. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Bulis now to go into more detail about what this project was and what it hopefully will mean to our students.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I am honored to stand before you all today to help present the class of 2033 time capsule. Even though that seems such a long ways away, it really is not. My co-teacher, Carly Crowder, actually was the first to show me the significance of our first graders being able to celebrate today, 2/22/22, as elementary school students, and then again on 3/3/33 as seniors at Dinwiddie High School. After sharing the time capsule idea with our own first grade staff at Midway and with all of the elementary school principals, the countywide time capsule project was born. Our first grade teachers and students across the county have been working diligently for the past week and a half to create projects specifically for this time capsule. Things such as future job goals and aspirations, a packet from Flag Day which was presented to our first graders by the Colonial Heights VFW, which our own Betty Haney is a member, letters from each building principal, our school board, and Dr. Weston, our superintendent, are just a few of the things that the first graders will place into the time capsule at this time. While you are all small first graders right now, before you know it, you will be seniors, prepared with the tools needed to lead a successful life. We hope that when you look back in this time capsule in 2033, you smile and fondly reminisce on your day on your time as a Dinwiddie County student. Again, thank you, members of the board, for giving us this opportunity this evening. So now if the first graders will come up.
Is it a Yeti cooler?
It is not, and I will say one of my weaknesses is capacity. So we are hoping that everything fits in here, but Amazon sometimes will fool your eyes.
Yes.
So some of the items that are already in the time capsule, we have several different newspapers, the USA Today, a Progress Index, the Richmond Times. We have one of Dinwiddie's water bottles that they just gave all of the students. We also have a packet from the nurses of Dinwiddie schools. We also have a Dinwiddie mask, as much as we want to just throw these away. Hopefully by then it will be a thing of the past. And so we will start with Dinwiddie Elementary. Those students can come up and place their things in the capsule. Southside Elementary School. Sunnyside Elementary. Midway Elementary. Oh, sorry. And Sutherland. Yep. Austin, if you'd like to come forward and put your letters in.
Oh, there's tons of room in there.
We also have a letter from Claire Colbreth to give us the trends of this year. She wasn't able to be here, unfortunately, but her letter is in there, so interested to see in several years how funny that is to look back on. And who thinks they know what the code is to get into the time capsule? What do you think, Harper?
3, 3, 3, 3.
Your good guess, yes.
2022.
Oh, you're on the right track.
2022.
It's the year that you will open it. Does anybody remember the year you'll open it?
333.
It'll be 2033.
Wow.
So.
They should put a tutu in there.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very, very special. Looking forward to seeing it opened. Okay. Yep. Should we take a little break? If y'all would like to take a 5-minute break, and if y'all want to head on home, that's fine with the children. Have dinner.
Let the parents, want to let the parents stand up?
Yes. It is. They did a good job.
So cute.
I don't know why we're keeping that.
I don't know. I would think they would keep it. I don't know.
Somebody's got to
Somebody
remember
at
to
the
open
school.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's only 11 years, so maybe some of them will still be here.
Yeah.
We put one at the new high school, which be opened in
I would think Becca.
50-50. Yeah.
Where's your tutu?
Oh, I took it off.
Did you put it in there?
I left it in my car.
Oh. I thought you put it in the capsule. Yes, it was. I know. Yes. We have to do more things with them. Okay. Well, we can go ahead and get started again. The board matters, the 2022-2023 calendar updates.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're getting the door closed. Just a second.
Okay, all right. So our calendar for next school year, 22-23, we had already approved it. However, we had been combing back over it for some time and realizing when this was done, we did 2 years at one time. So we realized there were some things that were missed. There was one revision made earlier to capture the the Labor Day we had to have. But in looking back over this, we had to review it from different angles. One being from HR and finance standpoint to ensure that the contract days were correct for our employees based on the number of work days needed. So we had to make some adjustments there because in making some changes, it did not match the requirements of the contracts. The other thing is we started looking at just a reminder of we do our calendar based on hours. So the state code says you can do 180 school days or you can do the minimum number of 990 instructional hours. So we opt to go with the hours. Because our day tends to be a little bit longer instructionally, so we can capture some bank time. And this affords us anywhere from 9 to 11 extra days. And we've had to use those over the years. We've even had to use some this year. We're still in a good spot because we're regularly calculating our hours to make sure we have enough. So before you have another revision, a set of revisions to the calendar. And what I want to do is just go through here, and these are small changes to the calendar where we went back through and we wanted to ensure that we had professional development in here because we were missing some of that. And we wanted to ensure we were giving teachers time at the end of the marking period, whether it's a teacher workday or just even a half day, to give them an opportunity to work on report cards and close out those marking periods. And with moving to the earlier start time, it shifted the times of the year where some of these things happened. And I think that's how we missed some opportunities in that last revision. So this should correct it. So in August, what we did do in August, in this new version, we have added the teacher orientation 2 days, the 3rd and the 4th, the week in advance of when all staff comes back. So all staff will come back on the 8th of August, and this would move orientation to the 3rd and the 4th. Okay, that would give Ms. Spires and her team an opportunity to work with them. And it would also give them a little time, it gives them a little more breathing room to work in their room, have their room ready in advance of everyone coming back on Monday. The rest of August remains the same. What we are going to do is we are going to publish a separate staff-only calendar that's going to break out their 8th through the 19th, those 2 weeks for them. We started on that last week with the principals group, and so we still have one more round. We need to go over that with our directors, but we definitely wanted to ensure and mark out so we can identify exactly when teachers would have opportunities for unencumbered teacher workdays. And so we would also identify the division-wide professional development days. We've marked 1 or 2 of those in there. And then an opportunity for principals to have school-wide for just their school where they can determine what they want to do in their buildings. So this would give teachers, we really tried to make sure they're going to have plenty of time in their classrooms. I don't remember off the top of my head how many days it was. I didn't bring that piece in here, but that's going to be separate. So we'll revisit these colors and things at another time, because just because it's blue on here, that just doesn't mean it doesn't mean they're all teacher work days. It means we'll have some professional development scattered in there as well. We did identify DCPS as being Friday, August 12th. So that is definitely going to be on that day. And then just as a reminder, you'll notice in August that on the 22nd, that is the first day of school. But that is the first day of school only for pre-K, kindergarten, 6th, and 9th graders. So that's those transitional days. And then everyone else will come on the 23rd. Okay, so that would be, so that's something we're definitely going to have to remind and communicate to all of our families to make sure they understand. Most people will come on the second day on that Tuesday. September, compared to the last calendar, that remains the same. The only little small change is going to be when the interim is going to be. We tightened up the interims and the end of the marking periods, but that doesn't change any school days. October, a change that we made was we originally had a half day on the 26th. It was in the middle of the week. It was a half day. And we've had lots of conversations around half days. And we know that half days are not good for our parents. They're always having to find daycare, and trying to find a half day daycare is not ideal. And it also, our attendance is not great on those days as well either. It tremendously helps out our cafeteria department if we can have whole days, because our cafeteria department is self-sufficient in funding. And so the more whole days we can have, that's a better revenue generating for that. So what we've done in October, instead of that half day, the end of the 9 weeks will end on the 20th, and then the 21st would become a full teacher workday. So that's going to be a whole teacher workday to give teachers an opportunity to close out that marking period. So that's it for October. For November, we did not have election day in here. And we know that many of our schools are used as voting precincts. So the 8th does need to become a teacher workday. So that is the only change that we have in November. It's professional development, yes. So it's a professional development day. It'll be a holiday for students, okay? So that will be a professional development day. December is the exact same. January, we had no changes. February, the only change is February 20th is President's Day, so we did add that holiday for everyone in there on February 20th. In March, the change that we have in March, we were ending the 9 weeks originally on the 27th, but we relooked at the days. We're now going to end the 9 weeks on the 17th. So this day, we could not, so when we were moving things and adding days and having holidays and things, this one, we could not afford a whole day, so this is going to be the 1/2 day in the calendar, is the 17th. That would give teachers an opportunity to end the 9 weeks on March 17th. So that's the one and only half day that we'll have. April is the same. We still have spring break in there for that. May. So the only other change is at the end of the year. So traditionally, we've always had 2 half days at the end of the school year. Many of these courses, we don't offer we're not taking the exams and things anymore. So these 2 days are going to become full days. And then the very last day of school will be May 26th for students. By making these 2 whole days, that gave us 6 hours back. So that helped us to be able to do some work previously in the calendar. And then the teachers do have 2 teacher work days at the end, and that would fulfill their contract, their required number of days. So the teacher contract is based on 200 days. They have 190 that are seen in this calendar, and then there are 10 on-call days, of course, that are used for on-call time or for parent-teacher conference or that time after school that is required. So this meets all those requirements for their contracts. And then also, when we get to the end of the year, the kids will be gone on the 26th. Then we have Memorial Day on the 29th, and then we do have those teacher work days. So certainly, we've had some discussions with the principals that at the end of the year, when you're done, you're done. So they may need 2 whole days to be able to do that in their room, but if they're done.
Where's graduation in that?
Oh, so graduation actually, is graduation not on this? Oh, it's on the 19th.
May 19th.
So that would be earlier, a week earlier, like this year and we did last year, a week before students get out. So those kids at the high school, the seniors will be gone. So the only thing that is going to remain would be your underclassmen that last week.
So on the end of the first semester, one of the reasons for doing this is trying to get SOLs or whatever we could get done before this January weather or whatever. So
Yes.
Are we able to do that with this?
Okay, so I'm not sure what this calendar is, but the testing.
It backs it up 2 weeks. So instead of us being done at the end of January, we only have a few days when we come back.
So we would
So
still
I
be
would
testing in
assume-
January?
I think I would assume, Tom's not here. I'm assuming that we're going to be testing in December. Because before we used to wait, is that right, Robbie?
Goal would be to finish majority of the testing in December.
Yes.
And then we might have some retakes.
Okay.
In January.
Okay.
But
But the initial
for
testing in
remediation
December.
And retesting, so that we could get through the first round of testing prior to leaving.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Ron?
We would certainly love to be able to finish the first semester in December, but it's just not doable. We're not allowed to start any earlier than we're starting. I mean,
I
we've,
think the concern
yeah.
was initial testing.
Right.
Probably what
Yeah. Well, I'm not advocating that we do or don't, I'm asking a question, but there are divisions that start earlier than
It
this.
is.
And they
So
get
they had to have
permission
waivers.
Have a waiver.
Waivers.
So there's a list, and the list is published on the DOE website that only certain schools qualify, and we're not on that list. We're on the other list that says we do not have the waiver.
I think it has something to do with weather.
It does, and it has to do with historical.
How many days they've missed.
Yes, and it's based on how many you had historically years before of that. Yeah, so that's why,
Well, to get most of the testing done would be helpful.
yes.
Because it's such a dead zone when you come back.
And we realize this is the first year of this calendar. So, we are willing to try this, and, certainly we will see how it goes. But everything will be closed out and done in the month of, May is it. They'll be done in
So
May.
we may not be this far along yet, but traditionally, when we finished in June, it was usually like 1 week, and then summer school started, and whoever was doing that went right up to when they were supposed to come back. So are we looking to do summer school in June or July?
I would say that we probably would start June.
Start in
Start in
June.
June. So there would be a
Right.
better break in there.
So this would be the shortest summer ever.
This summer will be.
This will be so short. And then next summer will
Carly's
be,
working on the
yeah.
summer school plan right now with some kids. It's gonna be a very short summer.
it will be.
It's gonna be about better recovery.
But this calendar affords us, it's around 10 days of bank time still. Maybe a little more. I'm still working on the minutes.
How do we count when the kindergarten, 6th, and 9th come back? Do we get to count that time? Or is that
Well, that school is in
creative?
session.
Oh,
So that
okay.
school would be in session.
That's all I need to know.
She counts each
So
school.
you count, so we have to look at each school. So right now, so think about this school year. So this school year, I'm keeping this chart. And we have multiple, I literally am keeping a chart on every single school because every single school's been different.
Later, right,
Yeah.
so they're.
They all have, yes.
meets the requirements.
Some schools have more bank hours than others. And that's okay. We're all still good. We're all still good on bank time currently. Just no surprise. March storms,
Yes.
and we'll be okay. And we'll be good. But the minutes add quickly, yes. So even a difference in 5 minutes in people's calendars generated a lot of hours across the year. So we're still in a good spot right now.
With the middle and high school, you know, we do that earlier dismissal, so we had to account for that this year too. So we've had a lot of unique situations.
So what we need today is just an approval of this revised calendar. And I will tell you the other thing we're working on, I don't know about you, but this has been a lot of colors and a lot of things in this calendar. Miss McCown, bless her heart, has done a wonderful job of keeping all the colors and codes straight. We are exploring an easier format to display it better. So if we change the format, we'll certainly bring that back to you. But the days and all the information would be what you will approve today, I hope. But we are going to look for something a little easier to read. So you don't have to worry about what does pink mean and what does blue mean. And clearly I didn't even have the right color today, so for the PD day, for purple. So everything had a color.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the calendar for 2022-23?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the calendar with the changes that she's indicated.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the 2022-23 calendar updates as updated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know it's been a lot of work.
Well, Christy's gonna stay up here. 'Cause she's
Okay,
finished
so you're
the
gonna-
budget. Are you gonna?
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
You'll do the health update.
I'm going to do the health update today.
Kyle's been at ARGS all day.
Yeah, she's been at ARGS today, so I took the lead on that one. So we wanted to bring you a health update again today. So we know that on the 14th that our students had the opportunity, the parents have an opportunity to decide if their kids, the mask became optional. And so we are happy to report that since that day, there have only been 10 reported COVID cases across the division. And I have to say, we were looking back earlier that just 2 weeks prior to that, 1 week we had over 100 in 1 week. So the cases definitely are trending downward. I waited much of the day, and the COVID dashboard from the Department of Health finally updated this afternoon. We are sitting at the same positivity rate as last week, which is still 8.8%, but the 7-day case number did go down. Last week it was 220, and this week it's down to 143. So certainly it's trending downward, and we looked back to since we came back from Christmas, the positivity rate was anywhere from the highest that it was 38.4 back in January, and it steadily went down. By the end of January, it was 31.7. The first week of this month, it was 21%, and the last 2 weeks have been 8.8. So, positive news there. So it just seems that it's getting a lot better. The other thing that we have been following that's been our students. We wanted to see what our next steps could be as far as staff were concerned about making things optional for staff with masks. We have been following DOLE, the Department of Labor and Industry, and they did hold they held a meeting last week. That was one of the things that Governor Youngkin required. One of his directives when he took office last month was for that group to meet to determine if that emergency standard needed to stay in place. So that meeting went on all day. They listened, they had comments from various groups and businesses from across the state. And it was much like everything. It was, you had half the group who was for the mask, half against revoking the standard. And so at the end, DOLE did recommend to revoke that standard and go back. And when they say revoke the standard, what DOLE was saying was it was not eliminating workplace safety or any of those measures. It was just saying that the standard is no longer needed. That would require a lot of these burdensome things for employers to have to do. And one of those is mandating the masks. And that masks is a piece of that and would become optional. There are many divisions already who have already moved to become optional in that area. So we wanted to bring today a consideration to consider moving that to become optional for our staff members as well. Now, as far as DOLE is, it did not revoke it immediately. They are out for a 30-day comment period, but all indications are pointing once that happens, it will just be revoked. They have to come back. That's just part of their requirements and their formality in that. But one piece is the bus. There's been a lot of discussion around some things that were circulating on social media from one of the delegates who is also an attorney. He had posted a message just last week saying that there was some loophole in the federal mask mandate for buses, saying it didn't apply to school buses. And if you do read the code, one of the codes that it was addressing did say that school buses were exempt. However, part of the other code within the order, the federal order, indicated it did mention schools and school buses, and that was the intent of that order. We have not been provided any additional information from the Department of Ed because initially, when all of this started, the Department of Ed provided us with the extensive list of the do's and the don'ts, the FAQs, and it was explicitly stated in the FAQs about buses. So we have not been told anything any differently to this point, but certainly we're monitoring that because if that becomes something that someone says we don't have to do, until we're told otherwise, we do need to follow the federal mask mandate and do keep that on buses until we know for certain, because we certainly don't want to do anything that would compromise or would get us into any trouble, certainly, to be out of compliance of anything. So what we would like to do, and Dr. Weston and I and Ms. Powell were talking, we would like to move forward with consideration from the board to make masks optional for our staff effective March 1st. That would give a week to prepare for that, if anyone needs to prepare for that. And certainly, just like when the students had that option, certainly we continue to realize that there are always going to be differing opinions about no matter what. But at the same time, we continue to ask all of our stakeholders to be courteous to one another, just as they have been, and continue to, be respectful of other people's opinions and decisions. And for the most part, we have had that from our parents and our students. We know that we have many staff members who, they have a lot of life going on, and they do have some immunocompromised situations. And some of our teachers have had conversations with students about their personal, whether they have a family member at home or something personal, that they've had conversations with students to say, hey, I have this going on. And children have been very respectful. If a teacher has asked students to put a mask on, 9 times out of 10, they've done it. So I would like to say we're proud of that everyone has been respectful from that. I know we may read different things on social media and hear about different things, but inside the school, for the most part, it has been, everyone has been respectful of everyone's opinions. And, that's all we can hope for and ask for. But just like when we did with the students, the same would be for the staff. And certainly we know that the principals have been working with individual staff members as needed with that and would continue to do so. So today we are, that's the next step of our plan to try to, the next step to move forward would be for staff. And then when we could, the bus would be the final step when we can get there, when it's okay to do that.
Are there any questions?
Does this change that we're doing need to say, or do we already say about the teachers that are asking for the students to keep their masks on? And is it already in there, or is that just
It's just a
understood?
practice versus,
Yeah, it's just been
the policy.
Okay.
I
I mean, I realize
Right.
that the kids are doing it, and I'm proud
Right.
of them, but I didn't know if it needed to be in there.
Right, so what we've asked the principals to do is to reach out to their staff, and if they have a staff member, then the principal would work with that person and with the students to make certain that, they take care of that. And the same would be true with adults, I would imagine. I will say also, when we met last week, the principals, we just talked about the end of the school year and what that would look like, and just really started to think more about how the school year could start to feel more like school, and take advantage of opportunities to bring our adults back in the building. For example, I know Midway is planning to hold their 5th grade promotion ceremony at the middle school so that all the parents can attend. So they're being really thoughtful about the kinds of things that they're doing so we can get parents back in the schools and back engaged in learning. So this is just another step in that direction.
Miss Clark, we're talking about our students taking their mask off on the buses.
Not at this time.
Not-
So
okay.
right now, we're going to leave that like it
Yes.
is because of the federal mask mandate. And we don't have we have not been given clear guidance on that it's okay to stop that.
Yeah.
So as far as we know, we have to proceed
continues.
with the federal mask mandate. Because officially, that was just one attorney's opinion. And so while this attorney has his opinion, there's another attorney that has their own opinion.
Yes.
So officially, we have not been told anything from the Department of Education or the Department of Health. So
And plus, on the school bus, you're less likely to be able to distance yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas in a classroom, you might be able to do that, or in the hallway, you can do that. But on a school bus, we have 2 to a seat, and
Right.
you can't do that.
So we want to leave the bus as is for now,
Right.
until we get official word or guidance on that.
Okay, now, are there a lot of staff members requesting the mandate to be removed, or they just doing it on their own? I really don't know, how people are thinking with or without, with the students with the mask on. Do we have a lot of people of our staff saying, I don't want this thing on either. The kids don't have to wear it. I don't want to wear it.
We have put them in a unique situation of them having to wear it,
Okay.
and the kids don't. But we still have lots of kids wearing the mask.
Right.
So
Same will be true with
the same will be true with the adults.
I think that I would like to say that we're an open system,
Yeah.
and the same thing that you see in our community, where you have this percentage of people that believe you need to stay with mask and stay the course, and you have that equal number of people that feel the same way. I think it depends on their personal situation and their personal beliefs and the experiences that they've had. Because we've had people that have lost people and it's a very real thing for folks. So, I mean,
It's going to come down to personal choice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what
Yeah.
we're doing, it's been 2 years that we've worn masks as adults. And so we're just saying at this point, not that there's not still a threat, but I think that, after 2 years, I do think we have a better understanding about what we're dealing with. And now the vaccine is there. I think we've done a really good job as far as our mitigation plans inside of our schools. And I think as adults, we have a better idea of how to take care of ourselves.
And our people can wear it if they want to.
Sure.
Of
And we've
course.
provided the K95 also for the adults as well.
So we're just looking for someone to move that we make mask optional
for our staff.
for our staff
Yes.
as of March
Well,
1st.
March 1st.
March 1st.
I move that we accept the updated mitigation plan as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the plan, plan update as presented, and allow the mask up, to be optional for the staff as of March 1st. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Christie.
you. And there'll be more updates again next month if we,
If we
Have
need it.
some.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. All right.
I'm the last one.
Yes, ma'am. Proposed budget for 2023.
All right. Okay. Good evening, Ms. Haney, members of the board. It's my honor to be in front of you this evening to bring the fiscal year 2023 proposed budget. It's probably been the most simple budget we've ever had to put together because, as you're going to find in here, that there aren't any new initiatives. It really is focused on two things. It's focused on taking care of our staff and taking care of our students. And so I'm really proud of the budget we've been able to put together, even with a lot of very unexpected kind of things that happened along the way. I do have Christy here, so if you want specific kind of numbers that I don't have available to me, I have her here. I have my strategic advisor, and then I also have Chris, my strategic advisor, here because we're going to talk about healthcare in just a minute. And so he's here, and he's been really working the numbers as well. So when we talk about the education that happens here in our school system, it's not just about what happens in the 12 or 13 or 14 years that we're able to work with our young people. We really want it to be about what happens to them long after they leave us. And that's why whenever we talk about the Dinwiddie difference, we're always talking about education that's going to last them far beyond their graduation. Oh, I got to go through my own clicker. Our work has always been our work, that we are going to make certain that each one of our students is life ready and has a plan for that lifelong success. And we're going to make sure that we've opened every door we possibly can possibly open, and that we've engaged our entire community in helping us to do this work. This budget, as well as this work, is built on our comprehensive plan, which is really four main priority areas: student success, making sure that we're preparing every student for success, looking at the culture and making certain that we have created a positive and a safe and engaging learning and work environments for our staff and students, retaining and recruiting high-performing employees, and also, and I think probably most importantly when you're putting the budget together, to make certain that we're being responsible stewards of the public's investment. So this budget that we're going to talk about this evening has basically has three priorities, but we're only going to talk about two of them for the operating budget. We're going to talk about investing in our staff and investing in our students' needs. All right. The first has to do with investing in our staff. We have got to remain competitive to make certain we retain our staff and recruit the most talented teachers. And we've also got to address the salary compression and be market competitive. As you know, we went through a salary study this past year with Evergreen. We've been meeting with them. Ms. Branch and Ms. Fleming and I have been meeting with them on a regular basis. They have quite a few recommendations for us. As far as how to maintain being competitive in the market. We'll be bringing those results to you, I believe, in the month of March. We've been up to, this budget's going to address some of that work. But we do have to make certain that we want to be able to retain our folks. I will tell you that I asked Chris to run a report for me to tell me in the next 24 months how many of our staff would be eligible to retire. And I think it was like about 65 of our employees.
Put your hand back in your pocket.
No, I already talked to her. I've already spoken to her. Everybody, look at them raising their hands and stuff. No. So we have to think about that, right? When we think about putting a budget together, I always talk to them about we always have to have a second string ready to go, but we got to invest in the people we have, because I certainly don't want them to go somewhere else to work. And then when people do choose to retire, I want to make certain that the work continue. So we do need to be thoughtful about that. There's a lot of knowledge in those 65 individuals. All right. So here's just some facts that have to do with compensation and benefits. Virginia right now is 26th in the country when it comes to salaries for teachers. The average annual salary in Virginia is 57.6. The average in our county is 52. So you can see that is still below the national average. Pay for professionals typically trails national average as well, as in the private industry pay. Our healthcare costs, last time we spoke, I told you 18%, but the final number came back in at 24%. What came in at 25, they gave us a 1% reprieve. So it's about $1.4 million increase in our healthcare. And I just want to remind everyone that our school board already pays $4.5 million in healthcare costs on behalf of our employees. But that's an additional $1.4 million. So if you talk about compensation for employees, the last thing you want to do is to give somebody a pay raise and then you push out all of those costs to employees and then it just zeroes all of that out. So we've been spending a lot of time talking about how we can make this happen so that we can do both. And I just noted again about the Evergreen salary study. As a reminder, we have 678.5 positions currently in our budget. 424.85 of those are SOQ funded. So you can see there's a deficit there in the funding that we receive on behalf of our employees. And so what has to happen in those cases most likely is that we have to find the funding somewhere else. And a lot of times that is we have to go to the locality to assist us in that regard. Commitments for this year's budget is to raise the teacher base salary. We've done that every year, I think, except for one in the last several years. Raise the UPP to minimum wage. You know that's about to change next January, and so we want to raise that minimum salary that any employee should receive to $12 an hour. So that will raise the other salaries on that scale. Now, because you can go to Chick-fil-A right now, I think, and work for $15 an hour. So we've got to start being competitive with that. Ensure that we have competitive salaries. We are working on a retention bonus, which we will be bringing forward to you using grant funds, both a signing bonus as well as they stay throughout the year. And then we want to be able to absorb the majority of healthcare costs for our employees, so they feel the least impact as far as the healthcare for this year ahead. All right, so we'll start with teachers. The current starting salary for a teacher in Dinwiddie County is $46,500. This budget, we are recommending that be moved to $50,000 for the 2022-23 school year. As you can see where we are, we're like 5 from the bottom currently, but if we were to move to the $50,000 right now, it would move us to the top in the region. I'm here to tell you that there aren't teachers out there, and we truly have got to be as competitive as possible, and salary is one way to do that. And if I'm a young person looking for a job, you see the number 50, that does get my attention a little bit. So that's what we're proposing, and certainly we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that also, any one of these school districts could do the same thing. And we have seen a couple, I think, so far, they're just proposing the 5% increase by the governor, but we're proposing more than that. All right, so here's what that looks like as far as compensation for all employees. So as you know, the governor and the governor's budget, which all this is built on the previous governor's budget, there was a 5% raise for SOQ funded positions, so we received about $1 million for that. We are recommending that the beginning salary for teachers be moved to $50,000 and all of them receive a step increase. That would give every teacher 7.36% to 9.73% proposed raised. Now, the higher the raise, the longer they've been with us, the higher the raise would be. Because, as you know, it's the increments at the bottom part of the beginning portion of the scale are different than those at the upper portion of the scale. So teachers, so that's going to cost us about almost $2 million to do that. You already see we see a deficit there. So transportation, as you remember, we just did a 6% increase for transportation in January of 2022. We're proposing to add 5% to the starting salary, which will give our bus drivers 11.25% increase to 12.79% proposed since July of 2021. And that cost us about $174,000. All other employee groups on the UPP scale would see, you heard me say before, we would raise that base to $12 an hour, which would be minimum wage, and they all would receive a step increase. So all the employees on that scale would receive 7.7% to 8.12% of proposed raise, depending upon where they are on that as well. Now, that doesn't account for us doing anything with what Evergreen is recommending. However, because we're raising the base and the 5% that's being proposed by the governor, it does take care of a lot of these issues that Evergreen did bring to our attention as part of the salary study. So it allows us to do that. So that's about $1 million to do that. And then we're proposing that we absorb $911,425 on behalf of the employees. So we'd have to push the remaining few $100,000 out to the employee group. I will tell you that Chris and Christy were working very hard because I really wanted to be able to meet with employees and say, if this is what you have currently, this is how much it's going to cost you. So like, for example, one of them, if you're a single employee, and I don't want to misspeak, but you're on, if you're a single employee, I think before taxes in one group, it was like $32 increase. The majority, there was one group where there was a family plan, I think that ended up being about a couple $100. But what he's done is he's pulled out different employees so we could run what the raise looks like, run what it looks like with the cost if we push these costs out, so they still would see a substantial raise. And we plan to be meeting with all the employees to go over what their options are for the upcoming school year as well. But this still does allow you all to absorb almost all the costs associated with it. So just in compensation and benefits alone is $3 million. So that's about how we're going to take care of staff. All right. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about students. And as you can see here, our student enrollment it's fallen over the last couple of years. It really, we had kind of been maintaining prior to the pandemic. The last couple of years, we've seen a decline. It'll be interesting, I think, this next fall to see what happens. We are seeing an interest. Interest is being piqued on behalf of parents wanting to come back into the schools. Now they're feeling safer, for lots of varying reasons. So it'll be better, we'll have a better indication about what our enrollment's going to look like, because we were on a pretty good path prior to this. But, as you can see, it's around, I think, 4,150 right now. We based this budget on 4,100 students because I want to be somewhat conservative moving forward. Here's just a picture of, our students by the different groups that we serve. Just to give you an indication of our young people. And then I just want to talk just a moment about how the needs of our young people are changing. I will tell you that with this school year, I think that, and I do think that our school leaders would agree that we've, there's probably more vulnerable students than we've ever seen. I mean, we're seeing students couple of years or more below grade level, and so it's required a very different approach to our work. We have more ESL students that continue to show up here. We have more special education students, and so they're coming to us with more complicated health conditions, students who need one-on-one assistance, and then also mental health concerns, which is very new to, I think, all the school systems across the nation since they've been out of school for the last couple of years. So what we're doing to invest in our young people is that we are still going to continue to expand early learning. So there's more preschool experiences. We know that what happens in the first 5 years of a young person's life matters more than anything. So there are monies in there to do that. Ms. Brooks and Dr. Joyner, they're working on trying to find a way to make the early learning programs at the school in which the child will attend, because that shuttle service is, as you can imagine, we have 3 and 4 year olds that are being shuttled all over the school system. We've got to streamline that somehow. PALS is going to be extended next year to cover grades K through 5, not just K through 3. So there's a significant amount of money that has been allocated for PALS for the upcoming school year. We have about $30,000 in work-based learning opportunities. That's our partnership with the county. Our regional programs, I believe the increase is somewhere around about $180,000. The majority of that's for Rwanti. And we've had level funding there for a couple of years. And so the good news is we're increasing the programming there, so it'll be more opportunities for our young people. We're going to have more opportunities at Maggie Walker for our young people. And then Code RVA will still continue to support Code RVA and also ARGs. And so those costs have increased, but that's great opportunities for our young people. And then finally, contracted services, OT and audiology. I'm going to have a hard because I'm speaking too fast. Audiology. Thank you. Contracted services have increased greatly. We've had to contract out some. We only have one OT in the school district, so we've had to contract out these costs. And so as the IEP dictates that we need to do these things, we have to make sure they happen. So total of all of these investments total $469,003. Okay. Okay, other ways that we're going to invest in our young people is to continue to provide targeted investments to ensure high quality instruction. We want to continue to maintain the site-based substitutes. We pay right now over $300,000 for substitutes, and I will tell you, as hard as it is to find teachers, it's equally as hard to find substitutes. And we've come up with quite a creative way to solve that by paying our staff who help us in that regard. But we like to still maintain those site-based substitutes for the upcoming school year and provide stipends for the hard-to-staff positions. I will say that every position is now becoming hard to staff, so I don't know, at some point, are we going to start just providing a stipend for all of them, because it's getting very, very tough. So here's the reality. There's a national teacher shortage. And just for your reference, only 3,000, a little over 3,000 teachers prior to the pandemic in 2019. And the top 3 counties hire 2,500 each year. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't make it, so good for us, right? So how they find their way to Dinwiddie County. And I will say that, back when I went to school, it was about 25% of people all went into teaching. And now that number is below 5%. People are no longer going into teaching as a profession, and we're losing people to other professions now. So there just seems to be a lot of need and not a lot of money sometimes, right? And also not a lot of people. There also can be a really difficult balance between, we really want to continue to be innovative and move forward and do new things, but right now everything we need to do is to kind of fill those gaps that were established by the pandemic. And just know that we're in a very, very, very competitive market when it comes to teachers and drivers and staff and services. For example, services, we just replaced I think it was the boiler at Historic Southside. We had budgeted $160,000 or something 2 years ago for that, and we were charged over $300,000 to do that, because now contractors can charge you just about anything if you can get one. So it's just it's an interesting time to be working in public education. And so we are also required to be in compliance with state and federal laws, but very few of those come with full funding. For example, teachers and counselors and support positions and salaries. Did you, Christy, give them the document we created? Okay, so you have a document I think she created for you, so you can see all the positions. You can see which ones are funded, which ones are not funded. So for example, we have 4 speech pathologists. None of those are funded, but yet we're required by a student's IEP to provide speech services, but none of those are funded. So just to give you an idea. So you have all those positions in front of you. So the bottom line is we need high quality teachers. We all know that the largest factor in a student's success is the person that's standing in the classroom. And then the next person would be the person that's leading the school. And then we also need to be able to provide differentiated support for our young people as well. So as we were pulling this budget together, these were the challenges that were related to our staff and students. It's about salaries and being very competitive with other school districts, retaining people. And notice we always put that first because it's about retaining the people that we have first and foremost, the unfunded mandates, and then just meeting the needs that seem to change on a day-to-day basis. Aging facilities is also challenging for us, but that's for a different meeting when we talk about capital plans. So some of the other increases in this budget are building maintenance, some of the contracts that we have, for example, like Johnson Controls and the like. Custodial services, I think the increase was about 3%. Our utilities have gone up, as with everything else, and fuel costs. We do anticipate seeing an increase in fuel costs for the upcoming school year. I get nervous every single time I see the number at the pump. And right now, that increase is about $183,285. So we're bringing to you a pretty what we believe is it is a balanced budget. I just want to start as we put this together. As you know, we at the end of February have to go before the county to let them know what our needs are, right? Because we can't generate revenue, we can't carry money over. Everything we do has to go through the county. So just this is the legal requirement in the code. So the proposed budget that I'm getting ready to show you the actual numbers for, it's actually built on that 4,100 students. It is a decrease over last year. We are above that right now, but I do think it's important to be conservative. It is based on Governor Northam's proposed budget, but it gives us an additional $3.3 million. But the interesting thing about the $3.3 million is that all that money is earmarked for very specific things. So for the SOQ funded programs, it's $1.5 million. For things like at-risk, we got an additional $1.2 million. But those kinds of funds have to be spent on those things, right? It excludes the $2.5 million for school construction. That's still under consideration. And it does provide additional funds for teacher pay, at-risk programming, which I just mentioned, per pupil, enrollment laws, early reading, and English language learners, just to state a few. As you know, how they determine a locality's ability to pay, it has to do with the local composite index, and the counties went from 0.2879 to 2.912, which means that the county or the locality can pay could afford to pay at least 29% of, the budget, provide 29% of the revenue, excuse me. And our county has always done a very nice job and certainly does exceed that local effort right now. But it also shows you our county's in a very good place. All right, so our community expectations would be that we continue to provide qualified, outstanding educators, that our students graduate on time and life ready, that we have safe and supportive and nurturing places to work and learn, that services are available based on a student's needs, that we transport students to and from school safely, and that our buildings and grounds have to be maintained. So this is what it looks like. This budget funds all of our operations that I've outlined for you for 2022-23. It meets all of the state requirements and guidelines. It helps with meet many of the community expectations. It does serve the diverse learning community. I believe it will retain and recruit a high-quality workforce, and it aligns staffing with current student and school needs. So this is what our current revenue looks like. As you can see in the first column, what was adopted in fiscal year 22, as opposed to what I'm proposing for fiscal year 23. I'm asking that we move forward with asking the county for $500,000 in additional revenue be transferred to assist with moving the teacher's salary to $50,000 and providing that step increase, which, as you remember, it was almost $2 million. The rest there, you see the increase from the state, $2.9 million, sales tax, $605,000. We do have a slight decrease in Medicaid reimbursement because there haven't been as many services in the past year, but we do anticipate that will go back up. Federal, there's been a slight decrease there, but for a total of $4 million in proposed revenue. And this is what it looks like there. And just to give you a sense of the different areas and how the money is spent, of the total of $53.4 million, with always 71% of it is spent on instructional programming. And then right after that, it would be maintenance at 13%. When you have aging facilities, you do tend to spend a lot of money on maintenance. Behind that would be transportation, and then technology, and then finally you have attendance and health and administration. So you can just see how the money is allocated. I will tell you that when we put this budget together, we have collapsed a lot of things inside of this budget. Just try to make room for these the compensation, and try to be very creative. And so we will be rolling some of those things out to the staff. But really taking a hard look at all of the budgets and making certain, is this a need versus a want, and what other resources might we have available that can take care of that in this next budget year. As with anything, I know that probably what's first and foremost on your mind would be, how do you sustain that if you take on something like this? And I will tell you that we had a number of vacant positions. Over the years, we've been holding on to the positions and trying to be really strategic. We don't automatically just fill a position when somebody leaves. We say, okay, is this a position that we need to fill, or should we just hold on to this position? I think we had like up to 40 positions, so we were able to collapse a number of those in order to do the salary increase. And I do anticipate moving forward, the funding will still continue to be there as the enrollment's there. And we'll continue to make strategic decisions relative to employees moving forward. So that is, in a nutshell, the budget. It's very simple, as I said, because it's about basically the two things. Here are some ways people can provide their input to us: email, and they can email Ms. Golson, or they can email the info line, or they can go on the school board site and provide an email to any one of you. We'll put the presentation out online for folks to take a look at it. We are going to have more opportunities for the community to review and input. Christy and I, and probably Chris because of the healthcare insurance, we're going to go on the road to all the schools like we did prior to the pandemic, so that we can explain to people exactly what it's going to look like and what it will mean to them. And we'll be doing that prior to your approval of the budget. I know we also have the 2x2, Ms. Haney and Ms. Pittman, and I will be meeting with the county, I think, next week to talk to them as well. But I've already met with Mr. Massengill on a couple of different occasions. So finally, I just leave you that these are our priorities. It's about, taking care of our students, giving our students and our staff both what they need and they deserve. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Just for visual purposes, at some point, could we see a list of what open positions that we're
Yes.
doing away with and what
Sure.
we're still standing and that we're looking for?
Yes. We
Thank
can. And so we'll also give you a list too of the ones that we would be recommending not filling.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So we have some people that are retiring, so we won't fill a position. Sometimes we have special education where we just have to move people around a little bit because you have to follow the children. So yeah, we'll be happy to provide that to you. We'll put it on the list. Okay. It's never a popular thing, though. We become wedded to people.
Yeah, it is. But,
It's hard.
but,
We're not letting people go. It's just
No.
when they're
Oh, I
gone,
know.
we're just
right.
we're just maybe not filling. Other questions or other things you'd like to have? Other thoughts or? I mean, we have time to ponder this. This is not for approval. This is just for your to have.
This is just information.
Yes, and but we will be moving forward with the county. I need approval. I need general agreement that it's okay to move forward with the request to the county for the $500,000 additional.
Do we need that tonight?
I don't think but it has to be a vote or no? No, it's just a general agreement that you
Understanding.
support that, yeah.
Okay.
Because he has to have that by early next week. Yeah.
Do we have, sometimes we usually have a sense of something is absolutely going to stay in the budget and some things are up in the air. And I guess with the new governor, do we still have that sense of what's actually going to be there,
Yeah.
or is it just wishful thinking?
Well, Christy and I talked a lot over this weekend because there has been information that's been coming out of the State Department about that. At first, I'd heard that they were going to pull back on some of the at-risk funding that the schools, because we were receiving $1.2 million in at-risk funding. So it'd be based more on your poverty levels in your school versus, so that would hurt rural communities in some way. So that was one thing that came back. What else did we talk about?
The House version is reducing the teacher salary to 4%.
That's right.
The Senate remains at 5%.
Mm-hmm.
But I also read that the House version is asking to reduce the at-risk funding, but they were also saying that they were going to move it to just the supplemental per pupil add-on.
Mhm.
Which, if they did that, that actually be
That
better
actually
for
helps
us.
us more because then it's not so dictated how we
yeah.
spend it.
But those were some of the
Yeah.
main things that I saw. So
Yeah. I think the one that would be problematic would be the salary one if they start to, because most everybody I know has moved forward with that 5%, you know, and for us, I really want it to be, as close to that 10% as we can get that. And
Any move at all towards looking at the SOQs and the gap?
no. But that has been something, I know the legislators, I know that when the superintendents have gone there, that's been something that they have been trying to keep on the radar of the legislators, to say that we need them to remove that.
one of the things that I heard in my regional finance group was that, the support cap funding, which I talked about at one of our previous meetings, has been very much in the forefront this year. But one of the things they said was it really wasn't brought to the General Assembly in time for them to really be able
Consider
to
it.
make any action on it this year, because I don't even think anyone presented an actual bill saying this is what we want you to do with it. But it is out there now, so we're hoping that maybe this is the start to see there's no support cap funding.
Right.
I mean, no cap on support funding.
I think my biggest concern is that they will not get the budget through yet. Like, it'll take a long time. And so we'll kind of be in limbo, through late spring and maybe early summer, trying to figure everything out when we're trying to do contracts and the like. So I think that's one of my biggest worries, is not knowing, because people need to know what they can expect. And
Right.
we have a lot riding on it.
It's hard to hire, too.
It is hard to hire. We hired, I think, 50 new teachers. Was it 50 new teachers, I think, this past year? So is it teachers or just staff? Positions, okay. Did you?
No, I think she should move on with the request.
Yeah.
I think we don't need a motion for
Yeah,
that.
no, we do not. I just want to make sure
I
that,
think we all
especially when we
agree.
meet with them next week, I just wanted you to be prepared. And I did speak to Mr. Massengill about what it would be for and why, in this moment. And I do think he does understand the urgency of the teacher piece of it. And also, they're going to be completing their salary implementation this year. They're actually going to collect, they were going to do it in 3 phases, and now they're going to do it in 2 phases. So they did phase 1 last year, and they're going to do phase 2 and 3 this year. So he does understand the importance of compensation and taking care of your employees. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay.
And that is all.
All right. Anything else? Nothing else? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
May I make one announcement, please?
Sure.
Just for board members, don't forget March 3rd is the regional conference, and it's my conference. So I hope, I'm not going to say, maybe I mandate, it's a mandate I require that you please get on and tell all other regional board members that to to please sign on next Thursday, March 3rd at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Say it again.
All board members have been registered.
We have been registered, yes, and we have our Zoom.
And you know our speaker is Mr. Adolph Brown.
Okay,
Outstanding.
thank you.
What time is that, Miss?
5 o'clock.
5.
And we're just signing on from home. We're not coming in.
Yes,
for
it's
that.
all virtual.
Okay. All right. Any others?
That's it. Thank you.
Do I have them?
I move that meeting be adjourned.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the meeting to be adjourned. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned.